South Africa plans to have at least 11,000 megawatts of electricity from renewables added to the grid by the year 2027. The country today launched the National Transmission Company of South Africa, or the NTCSA. The new entity forms part of Eskom subsidiaries set to play a very important role in managing, of course, the transmission of electricity across the country. Energy and Electricity Minister Dr. Hosiyensu Ramakgopa delivered a keynote address at the launch, and Professor Hartman Winkler from the Department of Physics at the University of Johannesburg joins us now to further unpack this. Prof. Winkler, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. So South Africa is seemingly making great strides in the positive direction and embracing innovation in different sectors to ensure the ease of access to very key as well as critical services. What excites you about the launch of the NTCSA South Africa?
Okay, this is one of the three legs of Eskom, the other two being the power generation and the distribution. So the transmission company's job is to get the power, the electricity from the power stations to the municipalities, essentially. And that had always been regarded as the one leg which was doing rather well in Eskom and which could draw investment. And I see that as the main reason for the splitting, because with the other two legs, the distribution company, they have to try and collect debts and so on. That's not an easy task. As far as the power generation leg, those are the ones which were struggling during load shedding with all the breakdowns in the power plants. But the transmission leg, which is essentially the power lines which cross the country, that had always been seen as something quite desirable, and they are looking at attracting some sort of investment from the private sector. If they do so, I'm pretty sure they will get quite a bit. They're going to be expanding the national grid. In particular, they are looking at strengthening it towards some of the areas of the country which enjoy the highest amount of sunshine and wind. That's largely the Northern Cape and Eastern Cape, and so on, to make it easier for new solar and wind plants to be integrated into the electricity network.
Absolutely, Prof. I mean, thank you for pointing that out, that this is actually part of the power utilities, of course, projects or plan to proceed with its plans to unbundle into three entities. So it will serve as quite the vessel to deliver unparalleled reliability as well as efficiency to South Africa as well as other designated electricity markets.
Yes, I believe so. I think this has been talked about for quite a while, and they talk of the launch now, but in effect, it's already been operating. It's had a board now for a while, so it's not a major change that happened today. I think it's all part of a process that's been going on for quite some time. So now we're going to have to see how I saw a figure of just over 100 billion that they're hoping to inject into largely the construction and maintenance of specific lines over the next 5 years. I'm sure they already have pretty much worked out exactly where they're going to be building and what. I know the area around Uppington, there've been plans there for a while. And I guess that can now proceed. But yes, it's already been moving for quite a while. So we're just seeing the next step in this trajectory.
Absolutely, Prof. And its main objective is, of course, to ease or simplify the ease of doing business. And needless to say that we are not yet out of the energy crisis yet in fears, even though there has been quite significant improvement. But let's further explore, Professor, the other benefits of the NTCSA in addressing infrastructural deficiencies, technology-based, as well as driven tracking mechanisms to guard against corruption or fraud by using AI as well as other innovative tools in order to safeguard business transactions?
That may be the case. I can't comment too much on that. I personally don't really see them operating very differently to what how they've been operating in the past under Eskom. Yes, certainly there are moves to to make the electricity provision as a whole be much more aligned with what you call smart grids and so on. So basically working out exactly where you need the power when and adjusting things accordingly, although that's largely going to be on a municipal level. And as I say, I don't foresee any major changes in the short term regarding that.
I hope in some of those short-term changes, Prof, would be the good news, of course, of the high number of jobs that it could potentially inject as well as create, as of course it hires those future innovators in the STEM fields, while simultaneously encouraging them also to venture into these fields. We're currently hearing a lot about South Africa not having the required skills and has to resort to importing them.
Yes, well, with regards to this transmission company as a whole, they would just be building a new power line. So that's something for which there is already quite a bit of experience in. But of course, just the fact that there is going to be all this construction work is going to offer jobs and opportunities for training of people. So that is going to be a positive aspect to it. The other thing about this whole transmission company, it's going to be running to some degree as almost like a company that's like some of the tolling companies operate on the roads. What we're going to see increasingly happen, it's already started, is that you're going to get private investors building a power generating facility in one part of the country, but actually using it somewhere else. So we've seen a recent example of that with one of the mines in the Richards Bay area, building 2 solar plants in Northwest Province. So what happens is the power gets generated in Northwest Province, but it's not those very same electrons that eventually move via the grid to Richards Bay. It's rather a case that it gets loaded on the national grid, and it just means that the user, in this case, the company in Richards Bay, just draws the equivalent amount of power from the grid. It's something referred to as wheeling, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And that also speaks to this whole idea of, if you like, the future grid, where you're going to see more and more of this kind of interaction, which is not how the grid has operated traditionally.
Something to sink our teeth into. Prof, thank you so much for your valuable input this afternoon. Professor Hartman Winkler, the Physics Department at the University of Johannesburg.